So the runners arriving at the post, and these are the markets in which you can bet into. The UK betting has Killybegs as 11-2 ahead of Dixie Meister at 6-1, and Spring At Last at 7s, 8-1 for Mullins Bay and Court Masterpiece. In terms of the international tote, they have a strong favourite in Spring At Last at just over 2-1.
The Godolphin pair will be the last two to be loaded away. Killybegs goes up near the inside, and Court Masterpiece, drawn wider out, moves in. They are all set. The first of the thoroughbred races racing in the Godolphin Mile, and Dixie Meister on the inside and Singing Poet in the centre, both slow to go. Spring At Last began brilliantly, Nellorpora began well, and Killybegs third at the end of the first 150 metres. Mullins Bay moving forward on the outside of Fusachi Richard, Gold for Sale written closer today. Merle Rowe moving around the outside, and then Court Masterpiece, Vortex, Boston Lodge. Guerrero pushing up on the fence, a length and a half Parole Board. 2 lengths to Singing Poet, who's second last, and Dixie Meister is a neck away at the tail of the field as Nellorpora takes them down the side. 1,000 metres left to go, and Nellorpora led by a half length over Spring At Last, with Killybegs third, 3/4 of a length away and pushing up on the rail. 3/4 of a length to Mullins Bay, then Versace Richard, 3/4 to Vortex, followed by Merle Rowe, Parole Board, Court Masterpiece, Gold for Sale drifting back, then Guerrero, Boston Lodge, Singing Poet, and Dixie Meister the last to swing in the Godolphin Mile. 600 metres left to go. Nellorpora away from the rail, Killybegs on the fence. Spring At Last is 3 out, Mullins Bay 4 out. Versace Richard looking for the gap, and Parole Board, the local, joining in on the outside as they reach the 350. Parole Board coming with a big run, has moved up to Spring At Last, and Mullins Bay in the centre. That 3 have broken away. Parole Board, Spring At Last, Mullins Bay, the UAE, America, South Africa. Spring At Last on the insides doing the better work. 100 metres left to go. Spring At Last in front. He's forging away from Parole Board, and Spring At Last. Spring At Last beat Parole Board. Mullins Bay was third. Dixie Meister from last was fourth. Then Court Masterpiece, Versace Richard, Nellorpora, Gold for Sale and Merle Rowe. A long gap in the field to Guerrero, Singing Poet, Vortex. Killybegs given every chance. Second last, and Boston Lodge was last of all.
So first blood to Spring At Last, who has won for America, partnered by Garrett Gomez for Doug O'Neill, always in the firing line, showed a great determination to get on top, and eventually won coming away.
And kept finding more and more. There we see him go to the line. He's about 3 lengths clear of Parole Board. It looked a real threat, but he just couldn't get there. The winner kept finding, and in third is Mullins Bay. Ran a good race, loomed up, just went a bit one-paced after that, hit a flat spot when it really mattered. And look at the gap, back to fourth.
But this horse looked as if he might be beat just over a couple of furlongs out, but he dug in really well. This is the first time this race has actually gone to America. They already dominate the Shaheen.
Okay.
So Garrett Gomez about to dismount, just taking the photo call. Again, it was notable, Jim, that with the exception of Killybegs, who was up there the whole way, not that many came from further back than midfield at least. Parole Board, I suppose, came from that sort of spot.